So when Jon Stewart made his big return to The Daily Show, he really kicked things off with a bang. He delivered this satirical monologue about a secret U.S. operation in Venezuela. But here's the thing, it wasn't just a string of jokes. It was, frankly, a masterclass in political critique. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how he used this completely absurd scenario to expose some pretty uncomfortable truths about American foreign policy.
The whole thing starts with this completely deadpan bombshell announcement. It's delivered just like a real news headline, and it's absolutely designed to make you do a double take. Wait, what? Of course, it's not real, but by starting with such an outrageous premise, Stewart perfectly sets the stage for the entire takedown.
So let's look at how this extraordinary operation is framed. Stewart presents it like it's this incredibly serious, high-stakes military action, but right from the get-go, he starts to subtly and hilariously undermine its own gravity. Okay, so the target is Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, and the language used to describe his capture, it's just brilliant. He was reversed iced and imported. Think about that phrase. It's such a bizarre, corporate way to describe an international kidnapping. It immediately turns this violent act into some kind of cold transactional business deal.
And the reaction to this monumental, world-changing event? Well, according to the satire, it's treated with about the same importance as flipping through channels. This is really Stewart's first major jab, right? He's highlighting this profound disconnect between how serious foreign policy is and the incredibly casual way it can be perceived.
Now, that casual attitude perfectly sets up the core contradiction of the entire piece. Because this fictional operation, it's a complete 180-degree reversal of the administration's signature America First doctrine, which, as you'll remember, famously promised to end foreign entanglements and nation building.
And to really make the punchline land, the monologue first reminds everybody of that promise. For years, the official stance was crystal clear. No more nation building, no more playing the world's policeman. This quote is the perfect setup. It establishes the exact principle the satire is about to completely demolish.
And here, you see the contradiction laid bare. It's a tale of two policies. On one side, you have the promise, on the other, the fictional action. Every single principle of non-intervention is just systematically violated. We do not seek regime change becomes, we are going to run the country. It's a perfect encapsulation of the political whiplash that the segment is making fun of.
So, you might be wondering, how does the monologue justify this massive policy reversal? Well, it's simple. You just rebrand it. And this is where the satire gets both historical and just hilariously specific.
Okay, first, a really quick history lesson. The Donroe Doctrine from way back in 1823 is a huge cornerstone of American foreign policy. It basically told European powers, hey, stay out of our backyard, the Western Hemisphere. It's a foundational, almost sacred principle.
And that leads us to the punchline. The monologue introduces the Donroe Doctrine, this clumsy mashup of Donald and Monroe. It's such a perfect satirical device. It sounds just official enough to be kind of plausible, while at the same time being completely absurd. It just mocks the whole idea that you can take these core historical principles and just rebrand them on a...
All right, so with this new doctrine in place, the satire asks the obvious question. What is the real reason for this intervention? And this is where the segment starts peeling back all those layers of political spin to reveal a much more blunt, unvarnished truth.
Stewart's monologue cuts right to the chase. You know, military interventions are almost always framed with these noble ideals, spreading democracy, protecting human rights, all that stuff. So what's the grand, high-minded principle this time?
The answer? Oil. That's it. The satire completely strips away any pretense of idealism. There's no talk of liberty or freedom, just this blunt, transactional statement about securing a resource. The comedy here is just in its shocking honesty.
But wait, there's another layer. The satire then brings in a fictionalized version of Senator Lindsey Graham to do some damage control. You know, his job is to spin this into something more palatable, a more noble cause. But as we're about to see, he doesn't quite stick the landing.
Even as he's trying to frame it as a victory against a narco-terrorist state, which is a common justification for interventions, he just can't help himself. He circles right back to the oil companies. And that exasperated "God damn it" at the end, that's the comedic tell. It's like he's admitting defeat, as if the pull of the real motive is just too strong to hide.
But it turns out, it's not just about oil. The satire expands the list of motives to this absolutely absurd degree in what Stewart calls going full conquistador. I mean, the list of resources, oil, steel, minerals, spices, It sounds like a colonial shopping list from the 16th century, right down to the everything bagels.
So in the final act, Stewart widens the lens. The satire moves beyond just this one fake intervention to become this sweeping critique of the entire political and media ecosystem that would even allow something like this to happen.
And check this out, there's a key detail in the satire that reveals who was in the loop. While the opposition party was kept totally in the dark, another group was apparently consulted beforehand. And who was that? You guessed it, the oil companies. It's a really sharp detail that reinforces the whole satirical argument. The corporate interests are being prioritized over the democratic process.
From there, Stewart turns his fire on the media. He starts mocking what he sees as this tired, repetitive line of questioning, the endless speculation about whether this, finally, is going to be the thing that causes the president's core base of supporters to break away.
And the monologue's answer to that question is a definitive nope. It dismisses the entire political calculus as just pointless, arguing the support is so absolute that it will simply bend to fit any new reality. The phrase it uses, a malleable hive mind, is a particularly biting piece of commentary.
And this brings us to the ultimate thesis of the entire monologue. Stewart wraps it all up by defining the real Gulf of America. It's not a body of water, he says, but the massive gap between the nation's highest ideals and what he portrays as a purely transactional, thuggish gangsterism. It's a really provocative final thought that kind of forces us to question what American greatness really looks like. And it leaves us with a question to chew on. What do you think that gap looks like today?